So Trump is actually, he's a good guy to like party with and stuff like, and like.
How often do you party, Elise?
A lot.
Hello, world! I'm finally getting to do the show that I've always wanted to do. So you always say I'm crazy. Like, I think you're crazy. I think you're insane. Do you feel like you're happier than you've ever been in your entire life with Gwen?
No, absolutely no question.
I believe that we should never stop learning.
1, 2, 3,
Wow. And I recognize the irony in that since I don't know anything. Secretary of Education. Is that a real job?
It is, it is.
And what if there was a woman in the White House?
Go America! Spanish is kind of close to Portuguese, no?
No, it's not.
You say you have a small penis a lot as a joke. Do you really have a small penis?
When girls look at it, they go like this, and I go, it's not a picture, it's not getting any bigger.
Come on!
Go!
I didn't realize that you were Canadian.
That was dripping with contempt.
I know a lot of bike enthusiasts in New York. Get on the Jersey Turnpike.
Yeah, careful. I'm from Jersey, so don't call it a turnpike. It's a turnpike.
Whatever.
You majored in poultry science?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that? Please don't call me ma'am.
You know my mom. Very dry, direct, very honest bitch.
As far as like the law, the transgender law, just pee anywhere.
It's awesome to be on a show that's run by a strong woman. Thanks, honey. Thanks.
As I told you before, I love your shirt. I love all of the band shirts that you've been wearing on the
I found
show.
a look. I'm sticking to it.
Is that what the show is that you wanted? You say in the trailer, I finally got the show that I wanted. Is that to be able to wear band shirts in every episode that you
Well, no, that wasn't a long, like a faraway dream that I finally realized. No, I just figured I just wanted to have a consistent look instead of having a stylist throw you together and like one day you're wearing something and, you know, completely different than the day before. I'm like, let's just find something cool and tight skirts and tight pants and cute t-shirts and go with that so that the show, you can focus on the other things happening in the show and not going, oh, wow, Chelsea looks like a real asshole today.
I unfortunately focus on the shirts sometimes. What band? Oh, Blondie. Yes, love Blondie.
Yeah, I don't even know half the bands of the shirts I'm wearing. So it's not that I'm a huge fan. I'm just a huge fan of t-shirts.
Let's talk about your biggest fear. I'm curious what your biggest fear was going into doing the show of your dreams, sort of taking everything that you learned from doing really great shows, I'll bet with like executives that maybe you didn't want to work with, or you had to do a little bit of their vision and a little bit of yours, everything that you learned and bringing it into everything you wanted it to be. What was your biggest fear in doing that?
Well, my biggest fear was just like, oh, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't, what if people don't get what I'm trying to do? And in what I was trying to do, and the kind of genesis of the idea was I just didn't want to have a regimented show every night. I didn't want you to turn on. I don't want people to turn on and see the same thing every night. You know, I wanted people to sometimes turn it on and have it be an episode devoted to Russia or to Tokyo or to Mexico City, or sometimes there's a dinner party about religion. You know, sometimes we have a political dinner party coming up with all these kind of political pundits that are on TV all the time, and we have a dinner party about that. We have another one, like an all-female dinner party coming out with a bunch of famous actresses about what it's like being in this business and the pressures they feel. So to cover all the things that are important and all the things that aren't important, but you want to have different conversations, and I wanted the fluidity of a show that wasn't, well, who says that there has to be a format? Why does there have to be a format? And you're setting yourself up for a lot of criticism when you do something that's not like, well, they're like, she's all over the place. She doesn't know what she's doing. I know exactly what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. That was my intention.
Absolutely.
So I consider that an execution of my dream and my vision for this show. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. And now, you know, it takes a couple months to get in your groove, but when you get in your groove and you're on the track, you're like, okay, this is happening, and I'm just gonna get better and better at it.
Well, it's so strange, because what does a groove look like? Because I think for most talk shows, they start with a format, and they're like, oh, maybe this format doesn't work, let's find a format that works, and you're not searching for a format, or are you searching for a kind of format that at least makes it, to a degree, a sort of well-oiled kind of machine?
My format is the antidote to ADD. Like, I have severe ADD, and I have to be interested in my own show if it's going to be interesting to other people. And I can't do that by sitting in the same spot every single day. So I just change it up. You know, we'll go and shoot field pieces, and we get to throw those in. And I'm learning more than I've ever learned. And by being able to do that in an environment where that you can also be entertaining. You know, some people have the idea that they have to kind of exclude, you know, humor has to exclude the idea of information gathering, and it doesn't. You can do the two things at the same time. I know more about politics now than I ever have. So getting to like kind of see those things happen, and I get, you know, I read my tweets and I read my social media now because I'm in a place where it matters to me what people think, and the feedback of people actually learning and be like, I know more about this than I ever knew. I love that. That's what I wanted to do.
Is that a new thing for you to be in a place where you care about what people think? And is that just because it's a new show and you're curious how
Yeah, I mean, I go through phases where I don't care at all, and then I definitely, you want people to respond. You need some audience, so you have to like care to a degree. But as long as I have a certain amount of people that are cheering for me, then I'm free to do whatever I want.
I'm always fascinated by people who have a vision, because so often a vision, you can waver in that vision, because especially in a talk show format where you're doing several of them a week, not every one of them is going to be up to your standard or everything you wanted it to be. Have you had a moment in making this show since you launched in what, in June? In July?
In May. We launched in May, yeah. It's on 3 times a week. We launched in May. Yeah, I was shaky in the beginning. I hadn't done it in a long time, and that skill set was, you think when you've done something for 8 years like I did on my old show that it just comes back to you, and it wasn't. I was a little uneasy. It was like I was trying to figure out the set, and I was trying to figure out, you know, our transitions without having commercials, without having all the things that you rely on to get a break during a show so that you check your notes or you know who you're interviewing. But you get it, just like anything in life, you acclimate. We all do. You know, we're so resilient. We're like, oh, okay, this is different. There are no more commercials. And it took me a few weeks to get it, and then I got it. And then, but if there's no learning curve, then what's the point of doing anything anyway?
Is that sort of how you ended up kind of feeling on Chelsea Lately after a while, that there wasn't a learning curve really anymore, and you sort of needed a different challenge?
Well, that learning curve ended like after the 2nd episode of that show. But no, but that show was so much fun. I mean, we would run around the office just like with food fights all day. You know, we were like in kindergarten, and it was great. But even kindergarten has to end at some point. I mean, it's fun to have that kind of success and have people pay attention and people be talking about you in that way, and it gave me a jumping off point in order to be able to do a show like I'm doing now. So I'm not ungrateful. I just was bored, and that's no fun. I don't want to just coast and collect a paycheck.
Well, I mean, I was listening to
I want to earn my money.
I was listening to you on a podcast recently. Oh, no problem. And you were saying that, you know, you wanted to do a show that matters. And that's so interesting because you spend so much time coming up as an entertainer in your early 20s, mid-20s, trying to find a place where you can get paid entertaining.
Yeah.
You find that place where you can get paid entertaining, and then you suddenly go, okay, now I need substance. I need actual substance. Is that essentially what happened?
I think it's an evolution. I think, like, you know, when I was young, I was just like, I just want to be able to pay my bills. I was waitressing. I was broke. I was like, I just want to pay my bills. And then you get a little notoriety, and then you become, you know, you get a show here, you get a show there, and I wrote a book here, and then that got attention. And if you're only happy with that, I wouldn't want to be a person that was only happy with that, because then you feel like, okay, now I have a platform, a lot of people listen to me, and a lot of people are paying attention to what I'm doing. I know I'm in the medium of entertainment, but you can still do something a little bit better. I can be a little bit better at something, whatever I'm doing, and choose to make an interesting choice or be a little bit more profound without being like, you know, I'm not trying to be Oprah. I'm just trying to be me.
You could be Oprah. You could go for an Oprah kind of thing.
Well, she seems like she's been on a long vacation, so I would like to be Oprah, because where she like just bought the island of Hawaii, all of the islands of Hawaii. I'm even saying it right, Hawaii.
What kind of people did you surround yourself going into the new show? I know
lots of new people.
Lots of new people.
Yeah, I'm very much about constantly like regenerating, and like you're not gonna get the same thing. There are some people that are from my old show, but this was a new adventure for me, and I wanted to go head first and like really, really scare myself and be uncomfortable. And then you get to be that uncomfortable when you take a risk and you're like, I don't like this, I don't like this. But you do like it, because what you get out of the end of that, when you're done being uncomfortable and you're solid in your feet and you're like on the tracks, you're like, this is exactly what I hoped I would become and what I would learn. So for me, it's always about really putting myself in uncomfortable spaces, because that's the only thing I get a result from.
How do you decide between people who believe in your vision, understand your vision, or how can you tell the difference between people who believe in your vision and understand it, but may be willing to say no to certain things, and people who are kind of saying yes to your vision because they work for you or want to work for you?
Well, you make that mistake. I've made that mistake over and over and over again throughout my career. I've trusted the wrong people, or I've had people, not be in there for the right reasons. But that's just part of, you're never going to stop doing. I don't want to be a person that doesn't trust somebody because I'm scared they're going to screw me over, or they don't have my best interest, or they're kissing my ass and not telling me the truth. That's just part of it. So you just got to go through that and think, for every 5 people I go through, I'm going to get 3 good ones. You kind of have to look at it like it's a numbers game. There are millions of people around that you're going to work with, a lot of them, and some are going to be great and some aren't. You
sit down with like 20 of your employees and you're like, okay, 15 of you.
We'll be gone. No, we haven't let go of a lot of people. But no, we have a good group, and it's a different group. It's a different show than my old show, so it's a different group of people and a different group of writers.
Now, the guests that you have on the show are unbelievable. You've always had incredible guests, and you seem to make friends with all of them after they appear on your show, or maybe you were friends with them beforehand. I'm not necessarily sure. Do you have a white whale at the moment? Do you have someone that you're just, with the exception of Obama maybe, or Hillary, do you have someone that is a white whale that you want to get on the show?
No, I just never think of it in terms of that. I just don't think like, oh, I want to get that person. I think the biggest surprises are the people you don't even want to know about, that you don't even know you want to talk to until you talk to, when I hear a great story about somebody who's a survivor, or somebody like we had Sophia Amoroso on the other day. I didn't know about Nasty Gal. I didn't know this girl was like dumpster diving and then turned her business into a $280 million venture. That's really important, for everybody to see that you can find something that you love to do and then go kill it. Those are the kinds of people that I really get inspired by.
There's always that weird moment when you interview people, and I get to interview people a few times a day, and every now and then, like, an actor or someone from like a 70s soap opera or something, I'm like told that I have to interview them. I'm like, oh, come on, I don't want to interview this person. And then they get on stage and they have the most, you forget that they're a person with a life, and they might have the most fascinating, inspiring life that you didn't even think about.
Yeah, of course. Everybody's got a story. I like to be alone with my driver in every city for the first day without other people, because I want to know what the hell their story is, Like, every single person, to dismiss anybody because you don't think they're interesting is an unfair thing to do. You have to give somebody 5 minutes at least to prove that they are interesting, because there are very, very, very few people that don't have a story. Yeah. And I think that being curious and interested in that is like, that's what I want to use a platform for. I don't want to have a show that's just celebrating celebrities all the time. We've had enough of that shit.
Absolutely. But at the same time, people do come on your show to promote stuff sometimes. Yeah. Do you have trouble sort of finding the balance between wanting to have a personal conversation with a celebrity and also helping them promote their movie?
No, because they're like anybody in the world, there are certain celebrities that are really interesting, some that are not, and then there are some that are. And it's just like anything in life. So what I try to do is try and get celebrities out of the studio. I feel like they're better at a dinner party where they're drinking and they're more relaxed and they're around other famous people, so that people are a little bit more laid back and we can have an honest conversation about religion or politics or being a parent or, sexism or whatever the topic of the day is. But that's my desire with celebrities. But, every once in a while, like I had Ashley Graham on, the model from the Sports Illustrated cover model this year. She was just on the show yesterday, which streams tomorrow. And she was like a badass chick. And I was like, okay, this is a girl that doesn't take any bullshit, that isn't scared to speak her mind and stand up for herself. And she's all about female empowerment. And that's somebody that I will be friends with. That's somebody who she was talking and I was like, just keep talking, talk. Because you're inspiring, and I know there are girls watching that are like, I can do that.
Yeah. When did you realize that you wanted to, or that you were a great host? I'm kind of curious about this, because not just...
Nobody thinks of themselves like that.
I don't mean that as like an entertainment host.
At my house or on the show?
Both. because you clearly like to host people. You like to.
I do love having people come to my house.
Yeah, and I think that extends to your show as well. You like people coming to your house, which is also your show sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's what I told the set designer. I'm like, just set this up like my house, because I want people to feel like they're coming over.
Get your dog walking around.
Yeah, my dog's there. Chunk loves it, and. You know, that's another thing. That's another small thing. Like, Chunk, people are like, you can't put Chunk on the show. I'm like, why? You told me I couldn't put a little person on a show either, and that worked out just fine. You know, and people said, you can't have a dog up there. I said, why? They're like, it's just the confusing. I go, no, it's not. It's not confusing. It's only confusing because no one's done it. I mean, I'm sure somebody's done it at some point, but it's not a thing to do. And so whenever there are rules, I always think, but why is that a rule? Why are we saying this is the format of late night? Who decided that? It doesn't have to be. And plus, it's not late night anymore because you can stream any time of the day. So I don't even know what fucking time I'm on.
Is that something that you guys took into consideration, that like we want to be topical, but it's possible that this isn't going to be watched the day of that we release it? It might be watched 5 days later, so we should be topical in the form of like, this is generally what people are saying about Hillary or Donald, right?
No, I mean, I'm pretty specific because people are going to watch it when they're going to watch it, and I'm not going to pretend you're not, you know what I mean? I'm not pretending we're live. It goes up. With Netflix, it's different because it's 190 different countries, so they have to feed it, they have to translate it into 22 different languages, and then they spit it out into the world. So there's a period of time that has to go before the show's up and running. It's definitely something we take into consideration, but I don't shy away from topical issues because of that.
Right.
You know, because that's not inauthentic, and that's not something I'm not going to fake where I am or what day it is.
One of the episodes that I love that you did recently, I truly love this. I've never seen any talk show host do this on TV, is you brought your niece on.
Yeah.
And she was so adorable and so funny, and you actually had her do a sort of a stand-up comedy class. Can you talk about this episode and having her do this and what it was like for her afterwards?
Yeah, she's my 11-year-old niece. Her name's Charlie, and she wants to be famous, but she doesn't know what she wants to do. And I'm like, all right, well, then this is what I did. I had to go wait tables. I had to go take a stand-up class. I never took a stand-up class, but I mean, I told her I did. So if she's watching, I lied, okay? And then I was like, and I also was in beauty pageants, like all the things that go along. And then she co-hosted the show with me. So we have another piece of hers that airs in tomorrow's show of the pageant piece when I took her to beauty pageant, like, school or whatever the hell that is. But it's just, she's a sweet, sweet girl. She couldn't be more different from me. She's like so earnest and she's just an interesting kid, and everybody has such a big response when they meet her. I'm like, we should put her on the show. I had her on my old show too. Okay. And she loves it. So I was like, well, let's do it in a healthy way so that she's not being exploited. I mean, of course, I can exploit her, but I'm not going to let other people do that.
It's a lovable exploitation.
But it's lovable, and it's good. I love being around kids. It's funny to be around kids. They're ridiculous. I mean, you can't even believe the shit that comes out of their mouths. The kids, elderly, I always love like my father I put on the show all the time because he's out of his tree. So, I just like I love the uncomfortableness of life and having difficult conversations. My best friend, Mary McCormick, is always like, you like conflict a little bit too much. Like, you lean into conflict. Because I like a difficult conversation. There's always these people who are like, I don't want to get involved. I don't want to get involved. Like, don't involve me in this fight, or let them deal with it. It's like, no, I get involved, always. If my friends are going through something or they're fighting, I'm involved. I take sides. It's important.
Yeah. I want to get into the drama. It's exciting, and also I want to have an opinion.
Couple divorces, I'm going to take a side.
Have you ever had a guest in your time at Chelsea, when you were on E and on this show that fell flat, that you were terrified about? You didn't know how to save it?
No, there was one recently on this show, and I won't say who it is. You can figure it out if you watch the show. But yeah, it was a difficult interview, and I mean, there were times where I know I had to catch my own expression on my face, where you're like, because I know that sometimes you don't know what expression you're making, and then you're like, oh, and I was sitting there going, and then I had to be like, oh shit, I'm on camera. You can't just be like this to your guest. What? But the person wasn't dynamic or interesting or in actually answering any questions, so it was a very difficult interview. But the first weird one I've had since my show started. There's only been one really weird one, and that was it.
But the benefit of your show is that it doesn't have to be 35 minutes or 30 minutes or 28 minutes at the end of the day. You can kind of be like, this interview's not going well, let's move on to the next segment.
Yeah, you can. I mean, the great thing about Netflix, it can be 28 minutes, it can be 40 minutes. I mean, it's the best. Yeah. It's just like we cut a show, and my executive producer this woman, Sue, is just like, okay, do you want to take that part out? It went a little long. I'm like, but those are natural conversations. I hate things that are overproduced, especially with this show. I really want it to be like a real representation of what's going on. Obviously, I get hair and makeup done and all that stuff, but as little overproduction as possible. You know, you want it to be organic and you want conversations to go. Sometimes they are a little boring in the middle of a conversation, and then you get to another funny place or a more interesting place. And I think that breadth is necessary in terms of doing something that's representative of how people talk to each other.
That's so hard, and just to compliment you, that's so hard to have the balls to do, because television for so long, at least even Netflix's television, you are taught that it has to be one thing. A talk show format has to be one thing.
Right.
It has to move. It has to zip along really fast. It has to be visually dynamic at the same time. You can't pause and let a conversation flow. That's what like a radio show is for.
Right.
It takes a lot of balls to like sit down and watch a cut of your show, I bet, and be like, no, let's have the bravery to hold on this for a little bit.
Well, and also to say at the onset of it, I was like, I did my Chelsea Does documentary series, and it was really well received, and
Wonderful.
people loved them. Thank you. And that's never happened to me in my career. Nothing I've ever done has been well received. So I was like, I've had success, but it's not from critics. I'm not a critical darling, and I never have been, and I hope I never am, because it motivates me to really work for my audience, and it makes me, putting after all those like. People were talking about it, and Netflix was so excited about the Chelsea Does series. I was like, don't get too excited, because when this show launches, there's going to be a lot of criticism. That's what I attract, and nobody's going to understand what I'm doing. It's going to take a minute, and get ready, because I'm going to take a beating. And I kind of, it's like, bring it on.
Why do you think you take a beating? Why do you think you attract criticism?
Because I'm loud. I'm divisive. People think that I'm just, I don't know. I don't think about it. I try and focus on the people. I mean, believe me, I've thought about it, but I try and focus on the people that like me, not the ones that don't. You can't try to make people like you.
Oh, I want to ask you about the sort of existential dilemma of, forgive the pretentious phrase, of being a talk show host and also running the talk show, which is that to run a talk show or to run any kind of show, you have to in many ways be direct, you have to be extremely assertive, and you have to at some times, I think you've referred to yourself as the C word at times in doing this, but you also have to present yourself in a way on TV that is likable, so many people come in to work for you assuming that you are that presence on television and that you are always likable and always wonderful. When did you realize that you had to break some hearts in terms of your sort of...
Only time I'm a bitch is if somebody's really doesn't get it. I don't like people who complain. And I'm always, you have to be you have to get shit done. So there's no time for feelings and silliness and people who, I don't like complaining at all. I never complain about anything. I try not to. And I think, if you take on a responsibility, there's nothing grosser than an actress getting a job on a movie and all she does is bitch and moan about it. It's like, this is a dream. This is your dream come true, and you're complaining about how many hours a day you have to work? I don't have any tolerance for that.
Also, you're an actress. Most of those hours are in a trailer, let's be honest.
So, exactly, and I have a low tolerance for that, and I have a low tolerance, obviously, for inefficiency, because I don't have a lot of time for fuck-ups, but I also have I have a real appreciation and a respect for people who can do something better than you can, and to if they're better, let them do it. Let people that are smarter than you do the things that know your weaknesses and play into your strengths, and know that if I don't edit my show. Sue edits the show because she knows everything about every camera angle and da-da-da. And I could go up there and I could sit there and micromanage her, but she asked me to get out early on. She goes, please get out of this editing bay and never come back. And, and I'm very hands-on with my show. I do everything. I edit all the field pieces. I edit everything. And we have a huge staff that does it as well, but I always have final say. And for me, with her, when she said that, I was like, you're right. I'll let you do this. I have no business being up here. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about even.
I'm going to open up to the audience for questions. Does anyone have a question? And if you do, please make it about Chelsea's ayahuasca episode, because I want to hear about that.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
I love your show. It's amazing. Watch every single episode.
Thanks.
So your comedy is very hilarious and quick-witted. I want to know, does it come from a place in your life that's very dark or something you've had to overcome?
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, our family's really sarcastic. We're all assholes. I mean, even my nieces, not Charlie, the other nieces, are so dry and sarcastic. We're like, we've done such a number on the kids in our family, because they'll be like, oh, the beach, this is going to be fun. And we're like, oh my God, we've poisoned the well on all of these people. But yeah, we grew up, there was a lot of stuff that happened in my childhood that was like, kind of heartbreaking, but so it's happened to everybody. It's just a measure of different, if somebody died or if you were, bullied or, if something even more terrible happened to you. I just love to be stupid. And when I say stupid, I mean stupid with 3 O's stupid. Like really just immature. Like I am always going to be really immature. And that makes me laugh. And to be really silly and dumb and, and drink too much and smoke too much and do all the things in life you're not supposed to do. I think there's an energy around the bad behavior if you can combine it with good behavior where you get the most out of life. For me, I want every experience I can have. And so comedy plays a big part because it's the opposite of tragedy, obviously. And it's just a natural way to make it possible to kind of get through almost anything, including like just being in a bad mood. You can't be in a bad mood because you have to Snapchat something in 2 seconds.
Next question.
Hi. My roommate and I are such huge fans of yours, and we think you're such an inspiration in that you're a badass boss and you're so honest, especially about women's experiences. And I'm wondering if you consider yourself a feminist and if you think the show has a feminist perspective.
Yeah, I always hate the word feminist because it's like, that should be implied. I'm a woman. What am I, anti-women? I'm not Ann Coulter. She's probably the only person you could say, what's wrong with you?
I love that you're bringing up Ann Coulter right now.
She's coming on my show soon. She's booked next week. Yeah, we're just gonna sit there and yell at each other probably.
Have you ever talked to Ann Coulter before?
Yeah, I had to have dinner with her one night with Bill Maher in LA. And I was like, I didn't know. I couldn't believe Bill was friends with Ann Coulter. He goes, of course we are, Chelsea. It's just, I kind of got the impression that hers is just more of a shtick than a real, it's just more of a way to be well known because she's blonde and a woman and I think it's more. At least I'm hoping. She'll never admit that, but...
Promote racist nationalism for entertainment purposes.
Well, just to be a Republican, in this day and age. I'm all for bipartisanship, but, right now, you can't be a Republican. Come on.
So you get out. No, just kidding. Next question.
Hi, Chelsea. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I want to take a cue from your show and do a quick rapid fire word association.
Okay.
So I'm going to say some of the places you've been around the world during the course of your show, and just give me one word. Okay, Mexico.
Mexico, cultural.
Russia.
Ick. Rough. I wouldn't go back to Russia, I don't think. I mean, I would, but I wouldn't.
Japan.
Clean and educated. There's a 99% literacy rate in Japan.
Wow. And Florida.
Can you just say opposite?
Florida, tricky.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, Chelsea.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I'm an amateur stand-up comedian, so this is this is so cool. I was curious, is there any sort of medium that you prefer? I know you have the books, the talk show, you do stand-up, you sort of did that amazing presentation of your book and your trip to Africa. Is there any sort of medium that you've loved the most or that you would love to do more of?
I did I look at stand-up as part of my e-show, all my books and my e-show, that was that part of my life. Right now, and I love them all because they all use different parts of your brain. I never thought I could write a book. I didn't graduate college. I just started writing about what I knew and about my silly one-night stand stories, and then I got a book deal, and then I had 5 books before I knew it. My brothers and sisters are like lawyers and doctors. They're like, well, I don't have a doctor. I don't know why I just said that, actually. I wish he was a doctor. They're like, well, how do you have a book deal? How do you have 5? I mean, I'm like the youngest in the family, the biggest fuck up. And now I'm the one that's in charge of our family. I'm like, hey, look over here, pay attention. But there isn't something I enjoy the most. It's just what uses my brain in the best way. Sometimes I feel like when I did stand up, I kind of peaked. I did as much as I could do. I performed everywhere in front of thousands of people. And I was like, I'm done with that. I want to do something else. Like, I'm done with the E! Show. I want to do something else. So I think it's all about, it's always nice to be around people in real person and have like a live audience. I think for my personality, it's always nice. I get a little nervous if I have to interview somebody without an audience, because then there's small talk and weird stuff, and it's just always better to have a live, I work better with a live audience. So that's one thing I'm attracted to all the time, yeah.
How are you in the green room before an audience? My thing in the green room is always like, hello, couple compliments, and I gotta go.
Oh, yeah, no, I go in and hang out for a little bit because I want people to be comfortable, because I know a lot of people think I'm intimidating and they're scared of me, and I don't want people to be scared of me when they walk out.
It's true, people are intimidated by you.
And it's so early, we tape at like, I don't know, 3 sometimes, and 2, and it's too early to really drink, you know, so you can't force a person to calm down. But yeah, I don't like when people are intimidated by me, but there's nothing I can do about that. I mean, it doesn't matter. Once people meet me, they understand that it's not like that I'm not just running around calling everybody bitch. And I'm certainly not gonna have a guest on my show and then go off on them. I mean, maybe Ann Coulter,
yeah,
she'll
please.
go on. By the way, I can't intellectually match her, so she'll bury me anyway, but I'm not scared of that. I look forward to it.
You think, Ann Coulter arguments, they're not intellectual.
I think I'll just let her talk while I'm filming it.
Chelsea, congratulations on the new show. New episodes are on Wednesdays, correct?
Wednesdays, Thursdays, stream Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Friday each week.
Every week. And the show is so you. It's everything you wanted to be. It's honest. It's funny. Congratulations.
Thanks
so much for being here. Thank you.